Welcome back to another We Ourselves video, and today I want to talk about the upcoming Dune Part 2 movie, my thoughts on it, what to expect, and I also want to address this persistent thing that I hear that Dune was the inspiration for Star Wars. I've done another video particularly talking about the recent casting for Dune and how I felt like they could have, moved that around. But in general, the movie was a faithful adaptation and I really look forward to part 2. I already got my advance ticket. I'm going to see it in 4DX and I would tell everybody, go and see it in IMAX if you can. But if you have a 4DX theater, go and see it. I saw the first part in the theaters. I saw it in 4DX and it's a spectacular experience. So if you got a 4DX theater somewhere, it costs more, but if you're going to go and see it in 4DX if you can. That being said, I wanted to talk about this idea that Dune was the inspiration for George Lucas's Star Wars. And I've heard it so much, particularly starting with the first movie and now going into the second movie. And I just want to address that because for one thing, for people who've never read the book or watched any of the earlier iterations, the 80s movie or the early 2000s limited series, if you're totally new to it and you kind of checked out the first one, you thought it was beautiful, but it was boring. I will say this. I know they purposely put all the action scenes in the trailer, but do not go into this movie thinking it's going to be Star Wars. It's not going to be Rogue One. It's not going to be Rise of Skywalker type of action. Dune was never about the spaceship battles. There's no lightsabers. There's no pew pew pew. Ironically, they really don't use energy weapons like that in Dune, and there's a reason for it. But I don't want people to think that this was the inspiration for Star Wars, so we're finally going to get that type of thing. You will have action. And the Apple series, Foundation, and this movie, the directors and the producers they've gone out of their way to put as much action as they can into it because they understand the modern audience. Now, the people who've read either of these series and are fans of it, they would have been fine without all of that because they are fans of the original material. But modern audiences, general audiences, they want some more explosions. And so both series, particularly the Apple series, and they're in their second season of Foundation, they put a hell of a lot of action in there. They took things that happened off page in the original material and they brought it on screen and stuff to put more action in there for the modern audience. And Dune likewise has done the same thing with the first part. They found ways to put more action into it. But I just want to caution people because I don't think Star Wars was inspired by Dune. Lucas has already admitted that, first of all, Joseph Campbell's a hero with 1,000 faces, the mythic hero journey and stuff, and the fact that he was inspired by Kurosawa and the Asian influence, particularly talking about the Jedi and the Force and stuff like that. That's where his inspiration comes from. And if he did pull something directly from a sci-fi series, it was not Dune, it was Foundation, again on Apple Plus. Coruscant is a world that is totally covered by a city, multiple level city, no green space. That comes straight from Foundation. Trantor, which you see in the series, is a world that's totally encased in a city, multiple levels, and the only green space is the 100 acres around the Emperor's palace. George Lucas didn't do that for Palpatine in Star Wars, but that's a direct reference and inspiration. The Force, I know people tried to compare Paul's ability to the Force. It's not the same. That's not where they're coming from. In Dune, the heart of Dune is the fact that in their past, they created machines and the machines became sentient. They became thinking machines and they rose up and they nearly brought the human race to extinction. They killed trillions of human beings. They leveled untold numbers of worlds until the humans finally rose up and they defeated the AI. They defeated the thinking machines. And at that point, they banned any creation of a thinking machine. It almost became like a commandment. Thou shalt not create any machine in the image of a human mind. You could not do it. So as a consequence, human beings turned inward and they began to develop the human ability to do amazing things. They increased their minds, their bodies. You have the Bene Gesserit, which is what Paul's mother is. They developed to the point where they can precisely control their body, every muscle in their body, chemical reactions, everything. You have the spacing guilds, which almost worships higher order math and things like that. They are the ones that are able to fold space and move people from one place to the other. You have the mentats who turned their brains into living computers, basically. And so that's the heart and that's the base of Dune. Totally different from Star Wars. And so when they found the spice, and the only place in the universe it exists is on Arrakis. Dune. When they found that spice was able to enhance everything they did. So the groundwork that human beings laid by focusing inward and developing human abilities, the spice came and magnified it into the stratosphere. That is why Dune is so important. That is totally different from the base of Star Wars. Another thing that Dune and Foundation has is that everything started on Earth. In the distant past for these civilizations, Earth exists. That's why at the beginning of Dune Part 1, you see they put the date up there, 10,000 something. I think Foundation might even be 25,000 years in the future. But in both of these franchises, in the distant memory and past of human beings, Earth existed because human beings expanded out from Earth in successive waves of exploration until they got to where they are in the Dune universe and in the Foundation universe. Again, totally different from Star Wars. Star Wars happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and there's never any hint within the mythos of Star Wars that everybody, all the humans that you see originally came from Earth in the distant past. And again, with the AI, if anybody took any inspiration from Dune, it was The Matrix. AI, machines rise up, conquer men. Terminator, Skynet, becomes self-aware, and what does it do? Immediately creates, it tries to exterminate human beings. I wonder, even Battlestar Galactica, they created the Cylons. Well, they created machines, thinking machines, became aware, they became the Cylons, they rose up, they almost destroy human beings until, they're almost extinct except for a ragtag fleet led by the lone Battlestar Galactica looking for the lost 13th tribe of Earth. Again, going back to finding the origination of the 13 colonies. And that original idea, the first show came out in the 70s, but I think he had the idea 10 years before, which means the 60s. I wonder what inspired him to write that. I know there are other inspirations and things that come in, particularly because of his religious views, but I wonder if he was reading the original Dune book, or even if the Dune at that point was still in 3 parts, and it was actually within, I forget what the name of the Sci-Fi magazine was, because this was considered literature. So if anybody was inspired by Dune, it was The Matrix, it was Battlestar Galactica, which is being rebooted soon, it was Terminator, not Star Wars. So I just really wanted to say that because I keep hearing people say, oh, it was the inspiration for Star Wars. No, George Lucas's inspirations came from other places. And if there was any direct pulling from any of the classic sci-fi series, it was Foundation. Again, on Apple Plus, go and watch it. But yeah, if he pulled anything from any of these classic sci-fi series, it was the fact that Trantor was a planet covered in a city, and it was the home, it was the headquarters of the Empire. He has Coruscant. That was a direct take from there. But as far as Dune, no. Paul's ability is nothing like the Force. Again, human beings developed their skills, and then when they got the spice from Arrakis, it just took their abilities into a higher level. That's not the basis of Star Wars at all. And so I just wanted to come and say that I'm excited about the second part. Obviously, I'm going to do a video on it too, but I'm excited about it because I've been a fan of these series. I've read the original series. I have the books, and I've watched the different iterations of it, and I'm watching Foundation on Apple TV. So I look forward to the second movie. And I just don't want people to go in there, but you're going to have those parts where it's focusing in on the machinations, it's focusing in on the conflict, it's focusing in on the treachery, on the house rivalries, on the treachery of the emperor and the politics and all of that stuff. You have to pay attention to it, and people have to stop being so antsy. If they don't have an explosion every 5 minutes, then they're upset. No, will you pay attention to what's going on? Because if you do, it makes the payoff in action better. One of the things we complain about with Marvel is the stories are trash and they're just throwing stuff at us, and they're used to be putting a lot of good special effects in it. And we complain about it, but then when you get something that literally has layers of story in it, too many people are getting antsy and saying it's boring and stuff like that. I'm sorry, but it's real sci-fi. If you're a sci-fi fantasy fan, you will appreciate it. If you're not, I don't know what to say for you, but please do not call any of the quote unquote down moments boring. It pays off. Don't go in there and expect every 5 seconds you're going to have another explosion and a gun battle and spaceships and explosions. I can guarantee you a lot of that stuff you're seeing comes towards the end of the movie. So you might as well get yourself ready. Immerse yourself in it. It's classic sci-fi that is being adapted pretty faithfully. Again, except for my problems with the casting choices in the first part. You could have switched some of that stuff around so more of the black folks survived, or people of color. But apart from that, it's really good sci-fi. It's true sci-fi. So my thing is, and again, if you want explosions, go watch Foundation. They've managed to put far more explosions in there than I would have thought possible. But even there, you got to pay attention to what's going on. Do yourself a favor, pay attention, don't get antsy, enjoy it, and go and see it in 40X if you can. Not just IMAX, go and experience it in 40X because it takes it to the next level. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the upcoming Dune Part 2, and let me know what you think. Are you going to go see it? Or were you bored with the first one? I hope nothing I said offended you. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. As always, like, subscribe, and share. And also check out some of the other videos. Go and look at my first assessment of the first part of Dune. And I will see you in the next video.